You are looking at Princess Anyavelle, heir to a galactic empire, daughter of the powerful King Zarovath. She had everything: power, technology, a life of unimaginable luxury. But all Princess Anyavelle wanted was one thing: to walk the cracked concrete of Earth. Her family? They called Earth a savage, broken world, a place of monsters. She fought. She begged. Until one day, in a moment of cosmic rage, King Zarovath made a decision that would change everything. He didn't just banish her. He threw his own daughter onto the despised planet, not as a princess, but as a tiny, helpless creature, struggling for life on the median of a 7-lane interstate. What happens when a cosmic royal, trapped in fur and fear, is rescued by a human named Atticus who believes in nothing but kindness? Stay with me because this story is about to redefine what it means to be human and royal. Before we dive deep into the story of Princess Anyavelle's fall from grace and her incredible journey of discovery, I need your help. If you're enjoying this narrative and want to see more stories like this on the channel, please take a second to like this video, share it with a friend who loves a good sci-fi twist, and definitely subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next epic tale. Your support helps this channel reach a much wider audience, so thank you. Also, let me know in the comments, from which part of the world are you watching this story, and what kind of fantastic adventure should we tell next? Now let's get back to the cosmos and the concrete. Dome of Xylos was a masterpiece of impossible geometry, a world of silent, crystal towers and regulated energy flow. Its atmosphere was thick with a calculated peace, and its ruling family, the lineage of the Star Kings, prided themselves on their absolute, logical superiority over all known life. At the heart of this regulated perfection lived Princess Anyavelle. Unlike her peers, Anyavelle wasn't consumed by celestial politics or the latest advancements in hyperdrive technology. Her obsession lay with a small blue marble planet spinning far away in a remote spiral arm of the galaxy. Earth. "Father, please," Anyavelle pleaded, her voice echoing slightly in the vast sterile hall of orbits. Her movements, even her frustration, were precise, a hallmark of their species, the Alaris. Yet, beneath that controlled exterior, her energy pulsed with longing. Just one visit. A diplomatic mission. I only asked to observe. King Zarovath, a formidable presence whose very silence could feel like a reprimand, stood before the holographic projection of Earth. The planet spun, a mesmerizing mix of cerulean ocean and swirling white cloud, occasionally marred by the angry red glow of its industrial centers. He let the silence hang for a calculated moment, a power tactic they had used for millennia. "Anyavelle," he finally stated, his voice a low, resonant baritone that spoke volumes of his authority, "we have discussed this for the last standard cycle. Your fixation with this blue jewel is illogical. It is beneath the dignity of our house. But the data is fascinating. Their cultural output, their art, their music," Anyavelle countered, leaning into the projection. She had secretly spent her formative years intercepting their transmissions. Everything from classical literature to gritty, modern cinema. She saw flaws, yes, but she also saw an explosive, untamed capacity for beauty. They create, they sacrifice, they demonstrate a level of passion we cannot replicate. Zarovath scoffed, a deep, rumbling sound that was the closest his kind ever came to a laugh of derision. "Passion? We call it chaos. We call it volatility. You focus on their poetry, Anyavelle, while ignoring the cold, undeniable facts in their historical records. They are creatures of self-destruction. They poison their nests, they war over imaginary lines, and their dominant state for the last 3,000 of their years has been anxiety." He gestured toward the projection, and the image shifted, focusing on satellite data showing atmospheric degradation and conflict zones. "They are savage, my daughter. Primitive. They possess the technology of gods but wield it with the emotional maturity of children. They are dangerous. They are a disease." "They are evolving, father," Anyavelle insisted, her composure starting to fracture. "Don't you see the resilience? The compassion? We judge them by their worst moments, but what about the millions who perform small acts of kindness every day? The ones who build sanctuaries, who heal, who fight for justice. Their concept of redemption is something we, in our calculated perfection, cannot grasp. We are logical, but they are alive." Zarovath turned, his eyes, usually a calm, placid silver, now flashing with sharp, internal light. The argument had reached its zenith, touching upon the fundamental philosophical divide of their entire civilization, the sterile beauty of their controlled perfection versus the messy, dangerous vitality of organic life. "Enough," the king commanded, his voice shaking the crystal floor beneath their feet. You are too close to this. Your mind is compromised by their primitive narratives of hope and love. I see only danger. You will cease this obsession now, or I will take measures to ensure your safety from this toxic fascination. Anyavelle stared at him, hurt and defiance warring in her own eyes. She knew her father believed he was protecting her, but his protection felt like imprisonment. She suddenly understood the human's concept of stubborn rebellion. I cannot cease, father. I need to know. I need to experience the chaos and the compassion you fear. I cannot rule a galaxy knowing I refuse to understand the most vibrant species in it. Zarovath's immense patience snapped. For an Alaris king, this was the highest form of treason, an outright rejection of the calculated, rational path. His face, usually immutable, contorted with a fierce, protective wrath that felt ancient and absolute. You wish to be among them? You wish to feel what they feel? Very well, he thundered, raising a hand. The air in the Hall of Orbits crackled, energy coalescing around his palm. This was not a punishment, it was a desperate, enraged attempt to shock her senses, to cure her of her romantic delusion by forcing her to confront her subject's worst reality. I will give you the experience of a lesser being. A vulnerable life. The life of a creature that depends entirely on the unpredictable compassion of the humans you idolize. Go. See their savagery firsthand. Anyavelle felt the wave of incandescent energy hit her. The world dissolved into a blinding white roar, the sound of crystal structures fracturing and stars rushing past her vision. She felt her body, her strong, royal, five-limbed body, contracting, morphing, shrinking violently. Her mind spun with pain and terror, the terrifying realization of absolute power being wielded against her. Then there was a feeling of weightlessness, a terrible, dizzying trajectory, and the final brutal realization. She was falling toward the blue jewel, no longer a princess but something small, furred, and utterly defenseless. The fall through Earth's atmosphere was a violent, blistering trauma. Anyavelle, now an unwilling passenger in the body of a small, sleek tabby cat, felt every degree of friction, every shudder of the newly formed biological casing. The cat's body was exquisitely sensitive, a shocking contrast to her previous, highly insulated form. The roar of atmospheric entry was deafening in her tiny new ears. She plunged through layers of dense, oxygen-rich air, the smells of pollution and strange, vibrant organic life hitting her like a physical blow. Her royal mind, accustomed to processing interdimensional data streams, was now trapped in a body driven by instinct, panic, and the blinding urge to survive the plummet. She impacted with the ground not on soft earth, but on blistering oil-stained asphalt. The impact jarred her down to the cellular level, stunning her, leaving her disoriented, tiny, and utterly terrified. The transformation had been physically complete, but her consciousness remained that of Princess Anyavelle, trapped in the guise of a small, trembling kitten. She lay momentarily dazed on the narrow shoulder of a road in a city that must have been New Haven Heights, the chaotic, concrete heart of the world her father, King Zarovath, despised. Her senses, previously focused on logical data, were now overwhelmed. Above her, a sky full of screaming, angular machines, the cars her studies had mentioned, rushed past, their tires generating a thunderous, continuous roar. The ground vibrated with the heavy, unpredictable pulse of human movement. The smells were atrocious: gasoline, hot rubber, refuse, and the terrifying, musky scent of other larger predators. She tried to coordinate her new limbs, but they were alien, clumsy, and weak. She tried to project a thought, an order, a desperate plea for transport, but only a small, terrified mewling sound escaped her throat. The Alaris princess was now a helpless kitten named Pip. A sudden, terrifying blast of wind and horn sound jolted her to action. She had stumbled onto the edge of the road, and an enormous yellow bus was barreling past, its sheer scale a moment of absolute, heart-stopping horror. Instinct, primitive, foreign yet powerful, took over. She scrambled, darting away from the immediate danger and collapsing onto the central median, a narrow strip of cracked pavement and patchy, dying grass that separated the 6 lanes of chaotic, bumper-to-bumper traffic flowing in opposite directions. Pip huddled there, body shaking, her fear a palpable, burning thing. The traffic was paralyzing. Millions of human-driven metal cages, moving at impossible speed, seemed to box her in. This was the savagery her father had warned her about. Uncaring, monstrous machines piloted by indifferent occupants. She was stranded, exposed, and entirely dependent on the random chance of human attention, which seemed to be zero. Despair began to set in, a cold, crushing weight that felt more painful than the fall itself. This is it, her Alaris mind calculated grimly. I will be crushed or starve here on the roadside, proving my father, King Zarovath, correct. In the lanes moving slowly on the opposite side of the highway sat Atticus Finch. Atticus, a mild-mannered but deeply principled landscape architect in his late 20s, was stuck in the worst of the New Haven Heights evening rush hour. He hated the noise, the pollution, and the general, aggressive hurry of the city. He was the kind of person who stopped to move snails off the sidewalk. Today he was exhausted, mentally tallying his failed bids for a major park project. As his old sedan inched forward, he happened to look across the 6 lanes of stopped, idling cars. His gaze fell upon the median, that ugly, neglected strip of land. He saw the small, dark bundle there. It was Pip. She was frozen with terror, eyes wide and reflecting the neon glare of the brake lights, desperately trying to keep her tiny body flat against the ground as a monstrous, rattling truck crawled past. Atticus's heart clenched. He didn't see an alien princess. He just saw something small, fragile, and utterly alone, trapped in a maelstrom of metal. A wave of pure, selfless urgency washed over him, overriding the immediate logical protest of his brain. You'll cause an accident. You'll be late. He threw his car into park, snatched his emergency vest from the glove compartment, a habit from his occasional volunteer work, and slammed the door. The moment he stepped onto the asphalt, the angry cacophony of horns erupted around him. Hey, get back in your car, someone yelled from a nearby window. Another driver leaned out, shouting an insult. Atticus ignored them all. The horns were a terrifying choir of human impatience, yet Atticus moved with a strange, determined calm. He raised his hands in a universal plea for patience, weaving between the immobile, monstrous vehicles. He finally reached the narrow median. Pip saw him, a giant, towering creature, and reacted with pure flight-or-fight panic, scrambling further into the overgrown grass. Atticus knelt slowly, ignoring the dirt that stained his work pants. He spoke in a low, gentle murmur, the kind of voice you use for nervous children or wild animals. Hey there, little one. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. You're safe. Just let me help you. He moved deliberately, offering his hand, palm up, radiating nothing but the kind of steady, unassuming goodness that was entirely foreign to the Alaris princess's world of complex, political motives. Pip, exhausted, disoriented, and calculating the risk of capture versus the absolute certainty of doom if she stayed, made a decision based on pure, desperate instinct. She took a shaky step toward the warmth of his hand. Atticus scooped her up carefully, cradling the tiny, trembling body to his chest. Holding Pip, Atticus felt the deep, resonant satisfaction of a small good deed done in a massive, ugly world. He tucked her safely inside his vest, giving her a dark, quiet place to hide. The horns were still blaring, but their sound seemed distant now. He maneuvered back through the traffic, a human carrying a small, precious life. The sheer chaos of the road, the angry shouts, the blaring horns, seemed to prove King Zarovath right. But the quiet, selfless act of intervention on the median proved Princess Anyavelle right. As Atticus placed Pip safely on his passenger seat and pulled slowly back into the flow of traffic, the little cat princess, nestled against the warmth of his jacket, felt the first, confusing, terrifying, and profound shift in her perspective. She was rescued by a creature of chaos, yes, but also a creature of grace. The journey from the highway to Atticus's small apartment in a quiet, historic district was a sensory overload for Pip. The enclosed space of the car, the rhythmic sound of the engine, and the constant, low murmur of Atticus's voice, offering quiet reassurances and talking about the day's work, became her first safe environment on Earth. Atticus, once home, immediately set about making her comfortable. He didn't treat her like an experiment or a curiosity. He treated her with the careful, practical compassion of someone who understood vulnerability. He didn't have cat supplies, of course, so he improvises. A bowl of milk and water, a folded, soft t-shirt and an empty laundry basket for a makeshift bed, and an immediate online order for proper kitten food and litter. Pip observed all of this with the analytical, critical eye of a deposed royal. Logical analysis. Observation 1. The human spends a significant portion of his limited resources, time, currency, to ensure the well-being of a creature with no observable benefit to his own survival. Conclusion. Highly inefficient behavior. Emotional analysis. A profound, inexplicable sense of security and warmth. Over the next few weeks, Pip began her intensive, mandatory study of human life through the lens of Atticus Finch. Atticus, a man whose life was defined by quiet integrity, became her sole data set. She watched him work on complex architectural drafts at his worn wooden desk, witnessing his dedication and the frustration when a design didn't work. When he failed a client presentation, he didn't lash out or declare war. He sighed, brewed a strong coffee, and methodically started sketching improvements for the next day, demonstrating a resilience the Alaris often confused with mere persistence. One afternoon, Atticus was on a video call trying to secure a new project. Pip, perched silently on the back of his chair, listened as he spoke with sincere, unvarnished idealism about creating beautiful, sustainable spaces for the community. "It's not just about building structures," he told the screen. "It's about creating an experience of belonging. Architecture should nurture the soul." He spoke of this philosophy, his eyes alight with genuine hope, even though he knew he was competing against massive corporate firms that only cared about profit. Princess Anyavelle's internal reflection. King Zarovath said they only care about acquisition and territory. This human cares about beauty and collective experience. He is willing to struggle for an ideal that benefits others, not just himself. The most confusing and compelling behavior, however, was Atticus's sheer gentleness. He would talk to her constantly, not commands but narratives. "Pip, you won't believe the day I had," he'd say while running a careful hand over her fur, sending a dizzying wave of physical contentment through her cat body. "I know you're just a little cat, but you're a good listener." He laughed at her antics, shared his meals with her, tiny, calculated bites ensuring her safety, and when he came home tired he would simply hold her, drawing an immense comfort from her presence. One night, Pip was startled by a sudden violent thunderstorm that rattled the windows. The cat body reacted with instinctual panic and she fled, hiding deep beneath the sofa. Atticus, roused from sleep, spent a half-hour calling her name, his voice laced with genuine fear and concern. When he finally coaxed her out, he didn't scold her for the mess or the disruption. He simply wrapped her in a blanket, held her close, and stayed up with her until the storm passed, his warm, steady heartbeat a slow, rhythmic drum against her tiny, terrified chest. This single act, the absolute priority of her well-being over his own sleep and comfort, was incomprehensible to the Alaris philosophy, where all actions were weighed against the collective good. This was pure, unconditional, individual care. Anyavelle's realization, her father, King Zarovath, was right that humans were volatile, capable of rage and destruction. But he had missed the inverse, their capacity for a love so fierce, so simple, that it required no logic, no political gain, and no expectation of return. It was an explosion of emotional light that countered their darkness. The cold, sterile logic of Xylos had no defense against it. She was beginning to understand that the savagery her father feared was simply the unbridled freedom of their emotions, which could swing both ways, to hatred but also to a profound, simple love. She was no longer just observing. She was starting to feel. And the feeling, for the first time since her exile, was dangerously close to home. Pip's education in humanity continued, moving beyond Atticus's apartment walls and into the broader landscape of New Haven Heights. Atticus, recognizing her need for stimulation, though he attributed it to normal cat curiosity, began taking her on carefully managed walks in a special carrier bag, allowing her to safely observe the world. She saw firsthand the vibrant tapestry of human society, the exact thing her father, King Zarovath, had deemed irredeemably toxic. On one particular Saturday, they were visiting the local community garden, a project Atticus had helped design. The garden was a messy, disorganized riot of life. Pip watched as neighbors, people of vastly different backgrounds and financial means, worked together. A wealthy lawyer with dirt under his manicured nails helped an elderly woman, Mrs. Dubois, lift heavy bags of soil. A group of teenagers, whom the king would have dismissed as delinquents, were teaching a small child how to properly stake tomato plants. There were disagreements, certainly, arguments over watering schedules and pest control, but the disagreements always resolved, not through an executive decision by an Alaris king, but through compromise and a shared, communal goal. Anyavelle's internal thought: they are messy, inefficient, but their combined effort achieves a vibrant, interconnected life that Xylos, for all its structural perfection, lacks. They are intentionally creating beauty that they share, not hoard. The true test of Atticus's character and of humanity's potential came when his own life hit a severe financial roadblock. The major park contract he desperately needed, the one he had poured weeks of idealistic effort into, was awarded to a larger, less ethical firm. He came home that evening defeated, the deep lines of stress visible around his eyes. He didn't yell or curse. He simply sat on the floor, head in his hands, letting out a heavy sigh of true exhaustion. Pip watched, her cat form radiating concern rubbing against his leg, This was the moment King Zarovath would have predicted. The savage lashing out, the betrayal of principles, the descent into avarice to compensate for the loss. But Atticus did none of these things. "It's just tough, Pip," he murmured, picking her up. "They wanted the cheaper bid, not the better design. I could have cut corners, lied about materials, but I just couldn't do it. My job is to make things better, not cheaper." He sat there, stroking her fur, mourning the lost opportunity but reaffirming his core integrity. "I might be broke, but at least I can sleep at night." The next day, instead of submitting to despair, Atticus took his architectural skills to the local animal shelter. He spent his entire day off designing a new, more efficient and humane kennel layout, offering his services for free. He used his professional training, his most valuable asset, not for gain but for the most defenseless. He designed a structure that nurtured without asking for anything in return. This was the pivotal moment for Princess Anyavelle. She saw a human, stripped of success and under immense pressure, respond not with aggression or selfishness, but by doubling down on his commitment to care for others. King Zarovath's entire premise, that humans were driven only by self-preservation and fear, was utterly dismantled by the sight of Atticus, tired and defeated, sketching a beautiful, caring space for abandoned dogs. Anyavelle realized the truth: humanity was a paradox. They were capable of the horrifying, wide-scale destruction that had convinced her father they were monsters. But they were also capable of moments of staggering, spontaneous, illogical grace that was so potent it transcended logic. Their capacity for love wasn't a flaw, it was their terrifying, beautiful superpower. Her father had only observed the shadow, Atticus was demonstrating the light. The accumulated weight of these observations, the small acts of shared effort in the garden, the integrity over profit and the selflessness at the shelter, created an intense, internal spiritual shift. Anyavelle's royal mind, trapped in Pip's small body, made its final calculation. "I was wrong to want to merely observe. And my father was wrong to condemn. To be human is to feel the risk of great pain, but to choose great love anyway." She no longer felt fear of her new body or her new world. She felt an overwhelming, profound connection. She was ready. She accepted the consequence of her curiosity, and in that moment of full acceptance and pure, selfless love for her kind rescuer, the biological restraints of King Zarovath's curse began to fail. The shift began subtly, a faint, resonant hum deep within Pip's tiny chest that was completely undetectable by human ears. It was the sound of Alaris bioenergy, long suppressed by King Zarovath's angry magic, reasserting itself. The princess's conscious choice to embrace human virtue, to accept the light and the dark of this vibrant world, was the single, non-negotiable condition for her transformation. The curse was designed to last until she found proof of her father's fear. By choosing to see love instead, she nullified the enchantment. It was late, and Atticus was asleep on the sofa, a book resting over his chest, Pip nestled calmly on his lap. He looked peaceful, exhausted from his volunteer work. Pip gazed up at his sleeping face, memorizing the kindness etched into his features, the face of the first human who had ever prioritized her safety without motive. "He is the proof," she thought. "The proof of their potential." The humming intensified. A soft, warm, silver-blue light began to emanate from the cat's fur, growing brighter and warmer, though still contained within the small creature. Pip stretched, a sudden, powerful surge of energy coursing through her. The cat body dissolved instantly, not in a violent flash, but in a gentle, almost silent burst of radiant, healing light. Atticus woke with a start, not from a sound, but from the sudden, powerful warmth and the unexpected weight that had settled on his lap. Where Pip the tabby cat had been sleeping, there now sat a young woman, Princess Anyavelle, radiating a faint, residual blue glow. She was slender, dressed in simple flowing clothes that shimmered with the light of Xylos, and her eyes, no longer reflecting light like a cat's, were the calm, knowing silver of an Alaris royal. Atticus, a practical man who dealt in blueprints and balance sheets, blinked, rubbed his eyes and stared. He didn't scream or run. He just looked at the spot where his cat had been, then at the woman now sitting in her place, utterly bewildered. "Pip," he managed, his voice a low, confused whisper. Anyavelle smiled, a genuine human smile that she hadn't been physically capable of before. "My name is Anyavelle Atticus Finch. Thank you. For the home, the kindness, and for disproving a king." Atticus slowly sat up, the book sliding to the floor. I'm an architect, Anyavelle. I don't deal with, spontaneous transformation. Are you all right? Where did Pip go?" Anyavelle explained everything, her voice calm and articulate. outlining the conflict on Xylos, her father King Zarovath's fear, and the rage that had sent her hurtling to earth. She described the curse, the panic on the roadside, and her father's firm belief in human savagery. She spoke of the despair she felt on the median, trapped and vulnerable, and then she spoke of the small, simple miracle of Atticus's intervention. My king believed that in your world, a vulnerable life like mine would be ignored, exploited, or crushed, Anyavelle explained, her silver eyes steady. He believed that humanity's goodness was a myth. But you, with your compassion for a small, dirty creature, your integrity in the face of financial loss, and your unwavering belief that architecture should nurture the soul, you demonstrated a resilience and a depth of spirit he could not calculate. You proved that the light here is stronger than the darkness. Anyavelle stood, now radiating the full, confident aura of a royal who had completed a terrifying but essential rite of passage. She could return to Xylos now. She had the proof her father needed, not of a perfect world but of a world capable of choosing perfect love. She had a choice to make: return to the sterile perfection of her royal life, or embrace the beautiful, messy chaos of Earth. She looked at Atticus, the kindest, most unassuming, most morally brave person she had ever known across galaxies. She took his hand, her touch cool and gentle. I am Princess Anyavelle of Xylos, she stated. But I have learned what it means to be human. And I choose the mess. She had found the vibrant, chaotic, heartbreaking, and ultimately hopeful life she was looking for, not in a grand spectacle, but in a single, kind human being who had simply stopped his car in traffic. And there you have it, the incredible, galaxy-spanning tale of Princess Anyavelle and the quiet heroism of Atticus Finch. What a journey of redemption, hope, and the ultimate victory of simple kindness over cosmic prejudice. If this story touched your heart, if Atticus's act of grace reminded you of the beautiful capacity we all have for good, please, let us know. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that the world is full of beauty, and most importantly, subscribe and join our community of story lovers. Don't forget to check out the channel playlist for more fantastic adventures that explore the bounds of imagination, from sci-fi twists to moral fables. What did you think of Anyavelle's choice? Should she have gone back to her throne, or did she make the right decision to stay and embrace the mess? Let me know your thoughts and suggestions for future stories in the comments below. Until next time, keep looking for the magic. It's often found in the most unexpected places. Take care, and may your days be filled with both cosmic wonder and simple human kindness.